Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my first Game of Thrones discussion video leading into Game of Thrones Season 4. I'm calling this one Game of Thrones Season 4, Who Are You Rooting For? Alright, so for this video topic, it will include spoilers. So for anyone who is not caught up all the way to the end of Game of Thrones Season 3, well, we're going to be discussing what we want to happen and who we're rooting for going into Game of Thrones Season 4. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil it for you. So please don't watch and leave right now. Don't look at the comments because you're going to see people talking about what they want to see, who they're rooting for, all these types of things. And obviously, Game of Thrones Season 3 was a game changer, especially the end. The events of the Red Wedding, in and around it, everything that was impacted as a result of what happened at the Red Wedding completely changes the show. In addition to that, we now have a significant threat. Well, it was there at the end of Season 2, but apparently I was mistaken. The White Walkers were not headed towards the Wall. They were headed to the Fist of the First Men. So then after that, whatever happens with that, whatever happened there, we'll see next where they go. And when you're all the way north, there's only one direction to go, really, right? So, of course, so we'll see what happens with that. But in this particular video, in the past, I have talked about who my favorite characters are at any given time, you know, whose side I'm on, so to speak. Those of you guys who have been following for a while know that I was a huge fan of the Starks, and the Starks were pretty much my favorite characters from Game of Thrones. I could probably do a new top 5 or top 10 favorite characters list again, and I'll probably do that fairly soon. If enough of you people are interested, please let me know if you'd like to see that. I was pretty much rooting for the Starks almost all the way through, hoping that after Ned, I was even rooting for Ned before he died, but then after he dies, of course, rooting for Robb, Catelyn, and just the Starks overall, the Wolf, to win. Obviously, at the end of Season 3, that battle between the Lion and the Wolf, the Lannisters and the Starks, has finally come to an end. So at this point now, we can go forward. The Lion has won. The Lion is victorious. Tywin has defeated Robb, as well as pretty much the entire Stark family. Yes, we do have some remaining Starks, but at this point they have next to no power. We have Arya, who's a badass little assassin, shanking guys and the whole bit, and on her way to become a really badass assassin in the future, no doubt, with Sandor. And you know, you gotta be rooting for her. I mean, she is a Stark. She's a true Stark, 100%. Why do I say that? Well, because the next one we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, she's a great character. You know, she's had such a harsh life so far. Everyone around her, everyone she cares about has been taken away from her, to the point where even her friends have been taken away from her. Even Gendry, who was probably someone that she saw as a good friend, her father, her mother, getting so close to seeing them again, and then, you know, not being able to, and hearing what was happening and everything on the outside. That must have been so painful for her, to finally get back there and then not get back to them right outside and then just be too late. Wow, yeah, definitely. So I don't see how anyone couldn't root for Arya. I mean, whew, awesome character. So yes, you know, she's still there, but the Starks as a family as a whole, really at this point, they've lost, basically. They've been defeated, essentially. The next one, who is a Stark but not a Stark, kind of, well, Jon Snow. I mean, he is a Stark, but he doesn't really have the name because he's a bastard. But at the same time, you know, again, a character that I think most people would want to root for. Definitely rooting for him. Can't wait to see what happens with him in the future, in Season 4 and forward, should he survive. Hopefully he will. I'm sure he will. And, you know, everything that happens to him at the Wall. The Wall will be a really exciting place, I think, coming up in the next few seasons because of the White Walkers. You've got Mance Rayder out there. You've got Jon. You've got Sam, who is now useful, which is strange to see. So, yeah, I mean, again, with Jon, got to be rooting for him as well. Bran, for me personally, I mean, you got to feel bad for Bran because he is a cripple. He is a warg, too, which is kind of cool because then he can, you know, and he's a very powerful one because he was able to knock out Hodor, which the other character, I forget his name, said basically wasn't possible, or that that he's never seen before. So he is a cool character too. I've never really cared throughout the series. I like Bran, but a lot of his scenes and stuff I never cared that much for. Like when we're watching his scenes, I'm not like glued to it. Like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next. Even though his stuff is exciting to see him going north of the wall now to see what will happen with him in his little adventure. Am I rooting for him? Well, a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty much all we got left of the Starks for the most part. There's the other one there too, the younger one, younger brother. But he's too young to really matter at this point anyway. So then aside from him, I'd say probably overall in terms of characters that still have power or have a lot of power, if when you're talking about characters like that, you're looking at like Mance Rayder, you're looking at the Lannisters still, of course, Daenerys and Stannis. And I think, unless you want to count the White Walkers, that's basically everybody we got that is in the running. Maybe you could count Bolton in there too, but he's not that powerful. He is Warden of the North, but he's sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't put him in the same categories as the Lannisters or Stannis or the others. Out of all of them, who am I rooting for the most? Well, I mean, you gotta love Tyrion. Everybody loves Tyrion. He's awesome, but he's just a facet, one part of the whole Lannister shebang. You've got Tywin, and I guess I do like Tywin. Obviously, Charles Dance is awesome, has some great lines from him, and just some great stuff from him. So I'm kind of rooting for Tywin, but he is a ruthless bastard at the same time. So I don't like to see him do things like with the Red Wedding there, of course. But, I mean, will win any means necessary. So kind of for him. I think it's interesting how human Jaime feels now, because like at the beginning of the series we hate Jaime, and then now going into season 4, it's like he's like almost redeemed. I mean, he hasn't redeemed himself, but all the pain he's gone through, losing the hand, everything like that, describing how he sees it as he did save all the people in King's Landing when he killed the Mad King, which he may very well have. You kind of start to care about him and feel for him, and you're kind of happy to see he's back to his sisters so they can continue their incestry. Is that a word? Incest? Whatever. Incest. Whatever the hell's going on with that. So, I mean, yeah, kind of happy for him. I don't like Cersei any more than I ever did at this point. I mean, I still don't really like her as a character. She's okay, but Joffrey is a monster. I can't wait to see Joffrey get it. Tywin, I kind of want to see Tywin get it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you got to respect the guy. He's such a badass. He's not a good guy per se, but he is protecting his family. He's doing the best he can by any means necessary. And I don't want to be a sore loser, even though I was rooting for the Starks first. I kind of feel like now I shouldn't hate Tywin just because he was faced against Robb. I mean, he's faced with an opponent. He didn't choose that. He didn't want Joffrey to take off Ned Stark's head. He didn't want all these things to happen. He's just defending his family, defending the family name. So I don't hate him necessarily either, even though I guess I don't really care if he dies or not. That's not really, doesn't really matter to me. Cersei definitely would like to see that. Jaime, not really. Kind of think he's too fun and too interesting to have him killed. He just lost a hand, so that was some serious shit. Joffrey, yep, he's got to die. Definitely not rooting for him. And that's pretty much all I really got to say about the Lannisters. I mean, Tyrion, always got to root for Tyrion. He's awesome. Sansa, still feel bad for Sansa. Oh, I forgot to mention her with the Starks earlier. She doesn't really have much power at this point, though. I mean, I wouldn't say so. Not really, no. Okay, so then you've got them. The Tyrells have kind of been absorbed by the Lannisters. They're kind of sided with them now, so they're kind of all part of the same thing there at King's Landing. Then Stannis. Okay, so if there's one group I am rooting for to win, if I have to choose between the Lannisters, Stannis, Mance, and Daenerys, I think I would have to go with Stannis. I really like Stannis. Even though he's a cruel bastard, even though he will use blood magic, Red God, Millis Letra magic, sorceress magic, even though he will do that, and he sacrifices people and he does all these things, leeches and all that stuff. I still feel for him because he is the rightful king. That's the thing about it. And Ned too was like, let Stannis know, because Stannis is the king, not Joffrey. Stannis is the rightful king. So you kind of feel like Robb wasn't able to avenge him, but maybe, just maybe, Stannis, even though he lost at Blackwater and it was close and everything like that, I would have to say I'm still rooting for Stannis. Even though he's a cruel bastard, I just feel like he's kind of he's kind of taken on that from Ned and everything, and he's still trying to get his kingdom back. And he's a really respectable character, because at Blackwater, when he's attacking everything with his men, he goes in like at the front. You know, come with me and take the city. Then they go. You know, he doesn't care about the wildfire. He's going, and everybody goes behind him. You know, that's a leader right there. Even if he uses the blood magic and whatever. I mean, dragons, and he does say too, dragons are magic too. And I mean, they're living creatures, but yeah, but you know, breathing fire, they kind of are. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, I would have to say he doesn't have dragons. He's got no Sletchers, so he's got to do what he's got to do with what he can do, right? That didn't come out right. He's got to do the best he can do with what he has. So, yeah, that's that. Daenerys, I mean, I guess I'm rooting for Daenerys too, you know. Even though if there can only be one that would win, I would probably pick Stannis at this point. Daenerys suffered a lot at the beginning of the series. Now she's coming into her own. She's got a force to be reckoned with. She's got her dragons. She's got Jorah. She's got you know, the second son. She's got all of these great warriors with her now, and I imagine with her dragon she'll just pick up more, and then that should be a lot of fun when that all wraps up. And of course, the White Walkers and everything's going to happen with them will also be is kind of like, you know, yes, it's been kind of revealed that that's like priority over whoever's king. Whoever's king doesn't really matter, because that's going to be hard for them to contest with in the near future, if not impossible, which it kind of seems like it will be. But yeah, if I think that's pretty much everybody I wanted to say. Oh, I'm also rooting for Yara. Of course, against to save her brother, of course, Theon. I mean, you got to feel bad for Theon, even though he wronged Robb and everything that happened with that. He's still at this point, after seeing all the torture and everything, I can't see how you wouldn't want Yara to save him. You know, so rooting for her as well. So that probably means she'll lose, because every person, same with Stannis, every person that I pick to win and I root for loses. That's usually the way it goes. So I think that's pretty much everybody. I mean, obviously there's so many characters in the show. But in terms of like which sides I'm rooting for, that's kind of where I'm at. As you can see, it's not clearly one-sided, because there are so many different characters inside. It's kind of like I hate the Lannisters, but then when you pick apart the Lannisters, I realize that I don't really hate them that much. I just hate Joffrey. I only, 1/4 of me hates Tywin, and half of me hates Cersei. But then I really like Tyrion, and I really like Jaime now. So it's complex. It's not that simple of who I'm rooting for. But overall, Stannis, Daenerys, yeah, her too. I like it. If she wins too, you know, and she survives all the way through and everything, and becomes, you know, the actual official queen and everything, King's Landing and all that in the future. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with that too. But overall, I think I would like to see Stannis win. So anyway, those are pretty much my thoughts after the end of Game of Thrones Season 3, leading in to Game of Thrones Season 4. Who am I rooting for? It's got to be Stannis and the others I mentioned. So anyway, let me know from your perspective what you guys think, who you're going to be rooting for going forward in the series now that the Starks have lost, unless you were never rooting for them in the beginning, and who you want to see survive, who you want to see die, who you want to see become the most powerful in Westeros. Yeah. Got to do a top 10 favorite characters video probably again soon. I'll probably do that soon. Anyway, any other video discussion suggestions you guys have for Game of Thrones, please write them in the comments below, and I will take them into consideration when I make the videos. And I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace.